Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is 3 rounds in the UFC lightweight division.
So now it's time for you to review a game that's just gonna make me. but I'm sorry.
Kind of like when you speak about MMO.
Yeah, kind of. But anyway, for all you guys out there, we're gonna talk about UFC 2010. And first of all, just for people like me that don't really get it, what is UFC and MMA?
Well, UFC is short for Ultimate Fighting Championships, which again is a league of MMA, mixed martial arts. And it really is that. It's all kinds of martial arts combined into one sport. And yes, you are actually allowed to punch people while they're on the ground. It's a mix of stand-up fighting and ground fighting with submissions, wrestling, Muay Thai, everything combined into one sport. And in popularity, it has really blown up like the last couple, actually the last 10 years or so. And surprise, surprise, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I remember UFC like for 15 years ago, and all my friends thought it was the coolest thing ever because people were beating each other up.
Well, that compared to the sport today, it's just it's not even the same thing. They have really done a lot of regulating.
All right, fair enough. Let's stop you there and let's talk about the game instead. This is what I deal with on Game Reactor. We have so many UFC and MMA fans at Game Reactor. Anyway, there's a game here called UFC 2010 from THQ. And it's the follow-up to the old UFC Undisputed.
Yeah, that's true.
What's new?
Well, surprise, surprise, it's more of a refinement of the previous game, because the previous game, for being the first game of this kind, was really, really impressive. It's one thing doing a Street Fighter type of fighting game where you just have, fireballs and everything, but as soon as reality enters the picture, and you also have to do ground fighting, which by nature isn't the most exciting thing to do for people who just want to punch each other's faces. There really was a lot of work to do, but they pulled it off. And in the new game, they have just improved on pretty much all the aspects of the old game.
Okay, so how does it work? Just, all I see is a couple of guys fighting each other like a bad boxing game. You get all the nuances in a game like this. So.
Well, for instance, they have made takedowns. Well, let's say I want to do ground fighting. They have made takedowns where I take you to the ground and punch you out, a much bigger part of the game. And also with the takedowns and the proof takedowns comes a much better submission game, where you can actually, it's now feasible to actually make a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, whereas in the old game, submissions were like once out of, I would say 10 or 20 maybe. You can actually pull them off now, and you can be really, really sneaky about it, where you pretend to be setting up a leg lock, but you suddenly go for an arm bar or something like that. Positioning, like actually having the proper position to pull off an armbar and stuff like that. It's just a much bigger part of the game. Also, the stand-up they have refined by putting in I would say a dodge system where you can actually sway your body so you can counter punches and stuff like that. And if you actually learn to really use them as you should, it makes a huge difference in the game.
All right, fair enough. But it's still not perfect.
I wouldn't say so, and again, having watched like from UFC 1 to UFC 114 in the past weekend, I still would like to see like body and leg punches and kicks do much more damage. In like a few weeks ago, Aldo stopped a guy named Faber by only using leg kicks, and I mean, Faber still can't walk properly, and you just don't see it in this game. I can be punching you like 3 times in the head, and maybe I'll get a flash knockout, whereas I can be kicking you for 10 minutes, and the only thing that will happen to you is that you will walk a bit slower. You can actually make people quit over leg kicks or body kicks, or at least I haven't managed to do it yet. You can get them groggy and then punch them out, but it's still like, for me, it's still a thing that lacks in the fighting system. And just the animation system is still kind of jerky. They have tried to put in a career mode where you actually are able to set up feuds by dissing your opponents and stuff like that. But it's still very raw, and it's still easy to see that it's the same people that are doing the SmackDown games, because the carrier mode just isn't up to the standards where it should be by now.
All right, fair enough. We have at Game Reactor, as I said, we had a lot of fans of the sport and of the series, and our lovely English editor Ben Klemne, when he wrote his review of the game, which kind of like reads like what you're saying now, he name dropped like insane amounts of names. So how is this? How does it capture the essence of the sport? When it comes to names, to
the presentation,
the presentation that's
is amazing. It really just hits the spot. It even has the system where UFC is always using the same intro for the pay-per-views, but they insert like different clips of different fighters saying all kinds of shit. Sorry. And it has the system in the new game where even though I make a random character, it actually inserts him into the intro. And I mean, it's such a small thing, but it really gives the proper impression. Also, the presentation is really amazing when it comes to the different fighters, because a much better job has been done of letting each fighter in the game actually use this style and the moves that they do in reality. So you won't see Randy Couture suddenly go for head kicks, but you will see him use Greco-Roman to control and just sap his opponents for energy, whereas a Brandon Vera, Jim Jones, Anderson Silva would just knock the shit out of you. So.
I think I'll just stick with Guile and
So
and my fireballs.
Yeah, true.
But all right, fair enough. It sounds like they're getting somewhere at least.
True, they definitely are, and I mean there's still room to improve. Definitely, there's still a lot of things I would like to see, but I really enjoy the game. And for this being only the second game with the UFC, it's quite amazing to see what they've actually been able to pull off. And the upcoming EA MMA game certainly has a lot to live up to.
Oh, the top!